Have you ever noticed the way you speak to yourself when no one else is around? In the quiet moments of the day, after a mistake or an awkward conversation, there is often a voice that begins to tell a story about who you are. Sometimes that voice is encouraging, but more often it becomes a harsh critic. We listen to it so frequently that we forget it is only one opinion, not an absolute truth. Today, let's spend a few minutes exploring that quiet voice together and discovering how gently changing it can slowly transform the way we experience life. Imagine carrying around a backpack every day that becomes slightly heavier each time you criticize yourself. At first, the extra weight is hardly noticeable. One careless comment about your appearance, one harsh judgment about a mistake, one comparison with someone else's success. They all seem small on their own. Yet after months and years, the backpack becomes so heavy that simply moving through everyday life feels exhausting. The surprising part is that most of us never realize we are the ones adding stones to it. Think back to when you were a child. You probably celebrated small victories without worrying whether they were impressive enough. You laughed when you stumbled, asked endless questions without fear of sounding foolish, and believed every new day held another chance to learn. Somewhere along the journey, many of us replaced curiosity with self-judgment. We started believing that every mistake revealed something permanent about our worth, instead of seeing mistakes as a natural part of growing. The truth is that your inner voice did not appear overnight. It was shaped little by little through experiences, expectations, and moments that taught you to protect yourself from disappointment. Perhaps you learned to expect perfection because praise only came when everything was done flawlessly. Maybe you became afraid of failure after being criticized too often. Over time, your mind decided that if it judged you first, the opinions of others would hurt a little less. It wasn't trying to harm you. It was trying, in its own imperfect way, to keep you safe. Let me tell you about someone we'll call Daniel. From the outside, his life looked stable. He had a steady job, a comfortable apartment, and friends who enjoyed spending time with him. Most people assumed he was confident because he smiled often and rarely complained. But behind that smile was a constant stream of thoughts reminding him that he should be achieving more, earning more, and becoming someone better than he already was. No matter what he accomplished, it never seemed enough. One quiet evening after work, Daniel decided to sit on a park bench before going home. The air was cool. Children were laughing nearby, and the sunset painted the sky with warm colors. For a brief moment, everything felt peaceful. Then his thoughts interrupted the silence. Instead of enjoying the evening, he started replaying conversations from the day, wondering whether he had sounded unintelligent or awkward. A beautiful moment slowly disappeared beneath a wave of unnecessary self-criticism. As he walked home that night, Daniel asked himself a question he had never considered before. If a close friend had shared the same worries with him, would he respond with the same harsh words he used on himself? The answer came almost instantly. Of course not. He would have reminded his friend that everyone makes mistakes, that one awkward moment does not define an entire person, and that progress rarely happens in a straight line. Realizing this created a quiet shift inside him. That realization didn't solve everything overnight. The next morning, the critical thoughts returned just as they always had. But this time, something was different. Instead of automatically believing every negative thought, Daniel paused. He became curious. He asked himself whether the thought was based on facts or simply on fear. That small pause created space for a different response. And sometimes a few seconds of space are enough to change the direction of an entire day. One of the most important lessons we can learn
is that thoughts are not commands. Just because your mind says something does not mean it deserves your complete trust. Our minds are incredibly creative. They imagine possibilities, predict problems, and often exaggerate danger. While this ability once helped humans survive, it can also convince us that we are failing, even when we are making steady progress. Learning to question our thoughts is not ignoring reality, it is learning to see it more clearly.
Imagine standing beside a flowing river. Every leaf floating on the surface represents a thought passing through your mind. Some leaves move quickly, while others linger near the shore before drifting away. You wouldn't jump into the water to chase every leaf, and you don't have to chase every thought either. You can simply notice it, acknowledge that it exists, and allow it to continue moving without letting it carry you away. That quiet practice becomes stronger each time you return to it.
The beautiful thing about all of this is that your inner voice is not fixed. It isn't something you were born with, and it isn't something you have to live with forever. Like any habit, it was built over time. And because it was built, it can also be rebuilt. Not in a single day and not with one inspiring moment, but through small choices that you make over and over again. Every time you choose understanding instead of judgment, every time you replace one harsh thought with a gentler one, you're teaching your mind a new way of responding to life. Many people believe they have to get rid of every negative thought before they can feel at peace. But that's not how healing usually works. Negative thoughts may still appear from time to time, just as clouds continue to drift across the sky. The goal isn't to stop the clouds from coming. It's to remember that you are the sky, not the clouds. Thoughts are experiences that pass through your mind. They are not permanent labels, and they certainly don't define who you are. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do isn't trying to convince yourself that everything is wonderful. Sometimes it's simply admitting, today is difficult. There is strength in honesty. There is courage in allowing yourself to feel disappointment, fear, or uncertainty without believing those feelings will last forever. Emotions come and go like the seasons. They rise, they stay for a while, and eventually they make room for something new. You don't have to rush the process. Think about the words you repeat to yourself every single day. Whether you realize it or not, those words slowly become the foundation of your beliefs. If you spend years telling yourself you're not enough, your mind begins to accept that story as truth. But the opposite is also true. Every small moment of self-compassion plants a different kind of seed. A single kind sentence may not change your life today, but repeated often enough, it can completely reshape the way you see yourself. This doesn't mean pretending you've never made mistakes. It means understanding that mistakes are part of being human. Every person you admire has failed. Every confident person has doubted themselves. Every successful life contains moments of uncertainty that most people never get to see. Growth has never been about avoiding failure. It's about refusing to let failure become your identity. There's something else I hope you'll remember. We spend so much time comparing our lives to everyone else's that we forget we're only seeing a small part of their story. We compare our private struggles with someone else's public victories, and then wonder why we feel behind. But everyone is carrying something you cannot see. Everyone has quiet fears, unanswered questions, and moments when they wonder if they're enough. You're not alone in this, even if it sometimes feels that way. So tonight, before you fall asleep, I'd like you to try something simple. Take 2 quiet minutes and think about your day. Don't ask yourself what you accomplished or what you failed to do. Instead, just notice what one thing you experienced today. Instead, ask yourself, what did I carry today? Maybe it was stress, loneliness, uncertainty, or simply the effort of showing up when you didn't feel like it. Then quietly say to yourself, I see what you carried today, and I'm proud of you for making it through. Those few words may seem small, but they can become the beginning of a completely different relationship with yourself. And the next time that familiar critical voice returns, pause for just a moment and ask yourself one question. Would I say these words to someone I truly love? If the answer is no, then give yourself the same compassion you would offer them. Speak to yourself with patience instead of pressure. Choose understanding instead of blame. You deserve the same kindness you so freely give to the people. Your worth has never depended on how productive you are, how quickly you reach your goals, or how closely your life matches someone else's timeline. You don't have to earn the right to treat yourself with compassion. You already deserve it, simply because you're human. You're allowed to be learning. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to rest. And you're allowed to grow at your own pace. So as you move forward from today, remember this. Real change rarely arrives in one dramatic moment. It happens quietly, through the thoughts you choose, the words you repeat, and the grace you offer yourself on ordinary days. One kind thought may not seem like much, but one kind thought becomes another, and then another. Before you realize it, you've begun writing a new story, one where your own voice becomes a source of comfort instead of criticism. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If you leave with only one idea, let it be this. The relationship you have with yourself shapes every other part of your life. So protect it, nurture it. Speak to yourself with the same patience and compassion you would offer someone you deeply care about. Because the voice you hear more than any other is your own. And it has the power to become the voice that helps you heal, grow, and move forward, one gentle step at a time.